Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video, and tonight we come to our last Halloweenish film for me to review during the weekdays, etc. You get the point. That's right, because yeah, you read the title, and I think I guess, I probably saved the best for last. And as I teased in the second to last Halloweenish review video, that's right, guys. I am finally reviewing, and, whenever it's Halloween time, it only seems fitting and necessary to watch and review something Stephen King related, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So, yeah. I had reviewed the first installment, and now reviewing the second installment. That's right, guys. I am finally reviewing from 2019, Dr. Sleep. Yes, and you saw the thumbnail because of the, replica axe from The Shining, but yeah. So, Dr. Sleep, the sequel to The Shining, and the fact that this is canon, and yeah, that's the thing, because this being canon and being a follow-up / sequel to a Kubrick film, which being The Shining. It's Kubrick's version of The Shining, basically. I remember when this movie was announced, there being a sequel to The Shining, and, whether if it was going to go in the direction, like, say, Kubrick's The Shining, be connected and such, still, because the fact that there was going to be a movie adaptation of Stephen King's sequel book to The Shining, which being Dr. Sleep, centering on a older Danny Torrance and what happens to him after the events of the book of The Shining. And yeah, and when it was confirmed that this would be connected to Kubrick's version of The Shining, oh yeah, I'm pretty sure, because you could imagine the excitement on everybody who had loved and had been big fans of that version of The Shining, what Kubrick brought to the big screen, and yeah, just what more do I have to say? And something else, from what I can tell, not many people, nobody on the internet talks about this, probably not that much, but from what I've seen, Dr. Sleep is the second film where it's canon, and it's a sequel / a follow-up to a movie that was directed by Stanley Kubrick. The first being 2010, the year we made contact. Now, that being connected with Kubrick's version of 2001: A Space Odyssey. Now, mind you, that, we all know, of course, that The Shining being based off of Stephen King's book / novel, but the same goes for 2001, that being based off of a book, and obviously, yeah, there being a follow-up book to 2001, which that, of course, being 2010. So, you see what I mean? Just, yeah, you get my point. It's amazing, that, 2010 being connected to Kubrick's take on 2001, and now with The Shining and Dr. Sleep, it's amazing, and what a big coincidence. And, because The Shining and Dr. Sleep being some of Kubrick's two best movie masterpieces, without a doubt. But anyways, let me set the X aside. Okay. But the first things I have to say about Dr. Sleep, well, for me, I remember when me and my dad, we went to go see this in theaters, and I'm pretty sure, aside from me, because I think my dad, too, because both me and him, if you guys knew or not, we are huge fans of The Shining. Probably the only, horror-ish material that my dad really enjoys. In fact, he did join me reviewing The Shining, if you want to go check that out. So me and him getting to see this in theaters, and yeah, because I'm pretty sure for both of us, we really enjoyed it. It was really well done. What director Mike Flanagan brought to Dr. Sleep, not to mention, he's no stranger to doing some horror stuff and doing something else Stephen King related. He did, was it Gerald's Game? I think, yeah, that's the correct title of the movie. because that's on Netflix. That being something else, Stephen King, he had already done that, and then a few years later, he would wind up doing another Stephen King material, which being this. So he was already no stranger to doing something Stephen King related, and no stranger at all to doing horror stuff, because we all know what Mike Flanagan has brought to the horror genre, and what he's done on Netflix, and with some of the cast members that are in Dr. Sleep, that I guess you could say are some of Mike Flanagan's lucky charms, but yeah. Again, me and my dad, we found ourselves really liking this movie, and it was no disappointment. No disappointment at all. The fact that this being canon and tied directly to Kubrick's The Shining, and with what the story brought from beginning to end, and with its cast of characters, and good old Ewan McGregor playing Danny Torrance, of course, a perfect casting choice, I should say, and how they did a spot-on job, rebuilding and bringing the stuff from The Shining, back on the big screen, rebuilding it and stuff like that. It's amazing. It's amazing. But I'll talk more about that stuff as I proceed on talking about the film itself. But yeah, just overall, Dr. Sleep, it was a pretty good sequel, and I'm pretty sure it is kind of underrated from what I've heard, because I've seen watching some clips of it on YouTube. I've seen some of the comments on YouTube of some clips from this movie, and yeah, it's unfortunate, but at the same time, it's still great. And I seem to have forgotten that this movie did poorly at the box office. Well, that sucks, but it was no disappointment. I don't know. I mean, sometimes great movies like Dr. Sleep, sometimes they would bomb at the box office, but, they would still turn out to be really good films, and Dr. Sleep being one of them. Alright, but enough said, and as always, read the description / the story. Struggled with alcoholism, Danny Torrance remains dramatized by the sinister events that occurred at the Overlooked Hotel when he was a child. And did you notice the shirt? Obviously, I have to wear this. His hope for a peaceful existence soon becomes shattered when he meets Abra. Yeah, Abra, I got that right. A teen who shares his extraordinary gift of the shine. Together, they form an unlikely alliance to battle the True Knot, a cult whose members try to feed off the shine of innocence to become immortal. Yeah, so, yes, okay, so getting into the film itself. Well, first off, I love how, and you know what, clearly, because, well, with Mike Flanagan, he wanted, when doing the sequel, he wanted it to be I think I can tell. I think it's obvious in knowing Mike Flanagan and some of the behind-the-scenes that I've watched. Him wanting to stay true to the feel and vibe to The Shining. And even though, trying to... And I think it's obvious. When watching this movie, you can tell, they're trying to, duplicate, say, how Kubrick shot The Shining with the camera shots and stuff like that. And they did pretty well, but, I mean, I think it's obvious that nobody could really do it like how Kubrick did it. It's really impossible. If you, knowing Stanley Kubrick and how he did the films that he had worked on and the cinematography, it's like, Steven Spielberg tried his best when it came to AI, artificial intelligence, and I'm pretty sure the same goes for 2010, but really, they can't do it exactly as how Kubrick did it. But it's not a bad job at trying to, okay? So, and I think for Mike Flanagan, for Dr. Sleep, he did pretty good at that. So, yeah, so, as I was saying, I love that how, and clearly, because, obviously Mike Flanagan being in on this, the Warner Brothers logo is an old logo, for the one from, say, the 80s and early 90s, the painting, the matte painting and such, and which would be which would continue on being used for a handful of years, I should say, for Warner Brothers Television. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's the significant, like, stylistic Warner Brothers logo that we all know and love so well. So I'm glad that it was once again used for Dr. Sleep, for the opening and the end to it. That was great. And the Newton Brothers, to go ahead and mention the Newton Brothers, who did the music and score for this, they did pretty good. Like, at times, recapturing some bits and pieces of music from The Shining. Of course, The Shining theme. The Dr. Sleep obviously has to have that. But yeah, so in getting into the film itself, because, well, starting off in the year 1980 in Florida, there's this little girl that we see, which being, Violet. Violet being played by Violet McGraw, and Violet's mother being played by Bethany Ann Lynn. Violet was walking off and was gonna collect some flowers, and at one point, she comes face to face with Rose the Hat, being played by good old Rebecca Ferguson. And of course, we all know her best in the Mission Impossible films. So yeah. So, and I gotta tell you, Rebecca Ferguson in Dr. Sleep, just fantastic. Everybody in this movie is fantastic. I know I'm gonna go on saying this, but yeah. Rebecca Ferguson as Rose the Hat, the main antagonist of this movie, fantastic. Her interacting with Violet, and Violet pointing out the hat that Rose is wearing, and Rose telling her that she's a bit of a magician and doing a little bit of magic for her. And then at one point, Violet notices some creepy, strangers approaching, behind some trees, and Rose assuring Violet that those are her friends, and so on. And it just starts to get a bit intense, and especially for Violet, and she is wanting to go back to her mom, but now she's, trapped by Rose, it was bait, and so on, and what exactly are they going to do to her? Well, we find out a little bit later on, because then, well, we see one of the first, shots that was redone, recapturing moments from The Shining, and it was great to see that. And I'm pretty sure, they just had a great time shooting some of those shots where they redid, scenes from The Shining, in the overlooked hotel, seeing Danny on his tricycle, or shots with Wendy and Jack Torrance. Spoilers ahead, because of mentioning especially Jack Torrance. But we see a young Danny Torrance, and young Danny Torrance in this, young Danny being played by Roger Dale Floyd. He was pretty good at playing young Danny, and Danny entering in that infamous room 237. Yeah, I think I got the numbers right. Entering, and, well, the door opens, and we see the old lady, from the bathtub, and, well, it turned out to be a dream, because by this point, Danny and his mother, Wendy and Dr. Sleep, being played by Alexandra Isso, if I'm saying her last name right. Now, she was pretty good at playing Wendy, and, doing her best at doing a Shelley Duvall impression. I think she got it down pretty good. By this point, and after the events of, The Shining, and when Wendy and Danny left and escaped the overlooked hotel, they now moved and are currently living in Florida. So, yeah. So everything seems to be going pretty good for Wendy and Danny. And at one point, well, Danny being visited by Dick Hallorann. Yeah, Dick Hallorann. It was nice to see that, and I think it was obvious they had to have Dick Hallorann in this. Dick Hallorann being played by Carl Lumbly. I hope I'm saying his last name right. Yeah, because I think that Carl did a pretty good job at, recapturing the performance that, Scatman Crothers brought to Dick. Yeah, fantastic. And I like how at times in this movie Danny is still referred to as Doc, because if you remember in The Shining, him being called Doc, the reason being is because of the Bugs Bunny cartoons. So Dick having a conversation with Danny and about his shine, and those who, even after they escape the Overlook Hotel, the ghosts from the Overlook Hotel still coming to haunt Danny, and even when Danny managed to take care of the ghosts, and even Dick, giving Danny this box, and something about the box where we find out that basically these boxes can seal and, trap the ghosts from the Overlook Hotel. And Danny going on, saying, he just wants to forget all this, and, and with his shine and so on, and the advice that Dick gives, and, yeah. And even, at one point, yeah, because as I mentioned, Looney Tunes, they are watching a Bugs Bunny cartoon. Nice to see that, it's in this. And I recognize the Bugs Bunny cartoon that they're playing. I wish I could remember the title. It's one of those Bugs Bunny shorts where he's come face to face with the Wile E. Coyote. Wile E. Coyote, super genius. During that time when Wile E. Coyote talked, just with Bugs Bunny, which I wonder, didn't some people, how did they feel about Wile E. Coyote talking? I were to assume they were okay when it was just with him and Bugs Bunny, because that seemed to work, but with Wile E. Coyote and the Roadrunner, that just wouldn't feel right, But the one where, I recall, because, Coyote and Bugs, they're, sitting on a tiny hill, they're laying on a tiny hill and just chatting, and that one, so you know what it is. But anyways, and even, at one point, Danny, heard the sounds of the old lady in the bathtub, and confronting the old lady in the bathtub in the bathroom, had the door closed, and we heard some screaming, obviously, from, the old lady in the bathtub, so, the naked old lady in the bathtub, and I don't see her credited, would she be credited? I don't know, it's not, I don't see her, but anyways, so then, we cut many years later, and, we see Danny, now older, and Danny being played by, as I mentioned, good old Ewan McGregor. And Ewan McGregor, he was no disappointment. He was fantastic in this. And again, I'm going to be saying that to everybody else who I have so far mentioned and will mention later on. But yeah, Danny Torrance by this point, and when we see him older, the time and setting is in 2011, and we basically see him in this crappy apartment. He wakes up because obviously, and from what we can tell, he got drunk and he was hanging out with this chick, I believe, Deanie. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's her. Deanie being played by Chesla Talamaj, and we see a bit of montage, what happened the day before, because he was at this bar and he hooked up with this chick. There was a little bit of a brawl, a bar brawl fight, bar fight, I should say, and Danny managing to take out this big fat guy, and Danny, because the situation that he's in, and when he woke up, and he was planning to leave, and he can see that his wallet was stolen, some money from his wallet, and thus he was going to take some money from that chick's wallet. And he finds out and sees that this girl that he hooked up with and slept with has a child. Jeez. And even the ghost of Dick Halloran showing up and, quickly confronting Danny about what he's doing right now, taking money and such. Jeez. It's hard to believe because, seeing older Danny now, the first time we see him, he's a mess. And we find out later that sadly, Wendy, his mother, had sadly passed away, which Danny explains very detailedly when I get there, at a specific point in the movie, up to 2 hours in. But anyways, so yeah, Danny, a complete mess, and, you know, not living in a home or anything, and, well, not just, okay, so not just him, but one of the other main characters that we see, whom we discover has the special power that Danny has, as well as Dick Hallorann had, the Shine. We have Abra Stone, and young Abra Stone being played by Dakota Hickman, because there's a birthday party happening for her, and there's a magician doing some magic, and young Abra saying that she can do magic and such, and at one point in the house, we see that, and it was her doing, utensils are sticking on the ceiling, and that was her doing, and this kind of freaks out her parents. The Stones, yeah, they were played by David Stone, being played by Zachary Moo, if I'm saying his last name right, and Lucy Stone being played by Jacqueline Duanu, if I'm saying that right. I think I'm getting her first name right, but you know me sometimes. Yeah. Anyways, so each of them, from Danny to Abra, and as we see Abra a little later on, well, Abra a little older in her teens, being played by Kylie Curran, yeah, and she's worked with Mike Flanagan a couple of times, but anyways, so yeah, we discover that someone else having the same thing that Danny has, which of course being the Shine, Abra has that. And technically her parents kind of know, but they don't really talk about it, and, like, whenever, like, say, with her doing something that has to do with the Shine, her parents would look at her differently and how they feel towards her and such. Yeah, and as for Dan, you know, still, being a complete mess. But then, however, he does at one point take a bus, and he makes his way to Fraser, New Hampshire. And there in Fraser, New Hampshire, he meets with another, like, main character of this movie, Billy Freeman, being played by Cliff Curtis. You know, he doesn't know Danny at first, but, you know, this was very nice of him, because the first time he met Dan, and as they talked a little, he identified and recognized the face, like, the look on Danny's face, and he can tell, like, the situation that Danny was in, and offering Danny some help, and having him do something, and, you know, being here in Fraser, New Hampshire, because, yeah, a little description here, because, you know, and as it is in the book, Danny Torrance, now 40 years old, moves to Fraser after his mother's death, as I mentioned. Casey Kinsley gives Danny a job in Fraser, despite knowing he's an alcoholic. If he can sober up and attend AA, Danny's physic abilities reemerge, and he's nicknamed Dr. Sleep. Yeah, until I get that a little later on, but, yeah. So, yeah, this woman by the name, as I just mentioned, Casey Kinsley being played by, well, where's Casey's name? Is it further down? No, it wouldn't be. Okay. Yeah, so, yeah, again, it is thanks to, Bill for helping out Danny, and, well, because paying for him to live in an apartment building and to do some work and such, and while attending AA and so on, am I missing? Okay, I'm not seeing her. If I remember to do so, I'll put the name of the actress who played Casey in a text. But anyways, always comes in handy with texting. So anyways, so yeah, so slowly but surely, all is going pretty well for Danny. But coming back to the True Knots, yeah, because whom we saw at the very start of the movie with Rose the Hat. Yeah, because the True Knot, again, a cult whose members try to feed off the shine of innocence to become immortal. Well, at one point, the next time we see some of the members of the True Knot, they are interrogating, and, well, not really interrogating at first, but some of them have their eyes on one girl who is called, let me see. Yeah, Snakebite Andy. Snakebite Andy being played by Emily Allen Lind. Basically, she, targeting those who find her online. Creeps, I should say, because this married guy meeting up with Snakebite Andy at a movie theater, while Casablanca is being played on the big screen, and Snakebite Andy having the ability to, have this guy who meets with her at the movie theater to sleep, and, whispering some things in his ear while he's asleep, and kind of, cutting his neck a little. Jeez. And, Rose the Hat is witnessing this, and along with her, one of the other main members of the True, True Knot. I remember now. True Knot. Crow Daddy being played by Zane McLaren, I think. Yeah, I'm saying that right. Yeah, so they have their eyes on Snakebite Andy, and basically, and to put it this, and to speed things up, because they have her, and they want her to be a part of their cult and such, convincing her, and just, and even Rose the Hat saying that, she can live immortal and still look 15 years old 10 years later, because that's how old Snakebite Andy is, during the time of this movie. And that's what happens. A ritual begins, and, well, Snakebite Andy becoming one of them. One of us. Humagama. Because why not? I had to. Obviously, for a joke. So, yeah, again, Snakebite Andy officially becoming a part of the True Knot, and yeah. Also, there are times, just two times where we cut back to the True Knot, and, them traveling the countries and such, in RVs, and sometimes they would play music. It's great to see, and it's obvious that they'd have to also incorporate these songs, a couple of songs that were played in the Golden Room of the Overlook Hotel, obviously from Midnight, Where the Stars at You, and It's All Forgotten Now, and the other two, just, you know which ones they are. So yeah, it's great to see that, they're in this too. So again, Danny by this point, now that he's, looking much better, shaping up slowly but surely, and, at one point, at a session of AA and such, and, with these group of people, past alcoholics and such, well, Danny making a speech talking about his father, and, obviously mentioning about, his father, and with, Jack Daniel, because, as we all know, Jack Torrance was kind of a bit of a drinker, so, yeah. And at one point, because Danny interacting, and he was there, that being, where is he? I don't see him in the cast. I hate, because as always, I have IMDb, and I hate when IMDb does this sometimes with the listing of the cast. Okay, there he is. Dr. John. Dr. John being played by good old Bruce Greenwood. Ugh. So yeah, Bruce Greenwood being in this as Dr. John. And knowing Bruce Greenwood, he's a great actor, and you know what? He was good in this too. Danny having a bit of a conversation with Dr. John, and pointing Dr. John something out about his watch, and something about soap and bathroom, whatever, and Dr. John just, flabbergasted by this and what Danny told him. And then the next scene, which, Dr. John and Danny are in, well, because Danny is in Dr. John's office, and obviously because this has to do with what had just happened with Danny telling him about his watch, and Dr. John questioning him about, because with Danny, why Danny moved there here to Fraser, New Hampshire, and stuff like that. So the conversation that Dr. John and Danny have, not too bad, and And by the way, the office of Dr. John, how it looks, and it's obvious, you can tell, especially with the camera shots, exactly identical to the office of what's-in-face from The Shining. You know who I'm talking about, yeah. When Jack Torrance first arrives at the Overlook Hotel for that job interview of watching over the Overlook Hotel, that office, like, yeah, how identical it looks to that in the Overlook Hotel. That's pretty amazing. And again, because if I've really talked about this or not already, because the camera shots that they do, the certain angles, fantastic. And the more I'm talking about this, because, yeah, again, really, like, it's obvious, like, you really can't do exactly as how Kubrick did it. But they try, because, as we all know with how Stanley Kubrick shot his movies, he was slow, and he would have shots go on and on for a little while. You know what I mean? Just, yeah. So it's in there. All that stuff is in there, but yeah, so you get my point. But anyways, so yeah, and to speed things up, because, at one point, because, the True Knot going after the innocents who have the shine, one of their next victims that they go after, is, a boy who plays baseball, and, I'm pretty sure that's kind of how he's credited. Yeah, here he is. Well, yeah, he's technically called Baseball Boy, I want to say. Some of the characters refer to him as that, but yeah, his real name, Bradley Trevor, and Bradley Trevor being played by good old Jacob Tremblay. Yeah, so Jacob Tremblay playing Bradley Trevor, who's a baseball player, and the Crow is watching over Bradley, keeping an eye on him, and thus Bradley is the next target and someone where the True Knot will feast on. Yeah. And by the way, at the baseball game, with Bradley Trevor, well, because Danny Lloyd, I think, yeah, because sure, I don't know, because he wouldn't have been uncredited. Let me see, because oh, yeah, here he is. Yeah, I was right, Danny Lloyd. Danny Lloyd, who was Danny in The Shining, yeah. And he makes a cameo in this. He is credited as the spectator. And by the way, the magician whom we saw early on, putting on a magic show for young Abra for a birthday party, he was played by Shane Brady. So yeah, just, had to mention him. So yeah, again, Danny Lloyd making a cameo in this, and this is when up to Dr. Sleep. When it came to Dr. Sleep, Danny Lloyd hadn't been acting since The Shining, and he came out of retirement to make an appearance in The Shining, but he would go on to appear in something else that Mike Flanagan would direct, in which, yeah, Danny Lloyd came out of retirement to be in something else of Mike Flanagan's. So again, the Crow keeping an eye on Bradley, and then when Bradley is walking home by himself, well, a Jeep, pulls up to him, and, well, the Crow is there, as well as, Snakebite Andy, and some of the other, True Knot members. There's Apron Annie, being played by Selena Anduz, I think, yeah, I'm saying her last name right. There's Barry the Chunk, being played by Robert Longstreet, and, one of the other longtime member of the cult, True Knot, Grandpa Flick, and Grandpa Flick being played by good old Carol Strucken, if I'm getting his last name right. He would be best known as Lurch from the two Addams Family films directed by Barry Sonnenfeld from the early 90s, and he was also Luxana Troy's right-hand man. You know what I'm talking about, from The Next Generation, the big blue tall guy who always loved to drink drinks and only had one line in Next Generation, and that was the first time that he and Loxana appeared in Next Generation, which being in Season 1, in that episode, Deanna Troi is to be married to somebody, and before they disembark the Enterprise, the one line and the only time that he spoke, and he spoke directly to Picard, was, "Thank you for the drinks." And Picard just he talks. If you know, you know, and any of you Trekkies like I am, just anyways. So, yeah, and you know what? He did not disappoint in this as well. Carol is Grandpa Flick. And apparently, because we find out and learn from Rose of the Hat that Grandpa Flick had seen so much. Like, I guess like going back to the 30s or something, I guess, but anyways. Yeah, so basically they do capture Bradley, and I tell ya, because I had kind of forgotten how gruesome this sequence was, and obviously, well, I hadn't watched Dr. Sleep in quite a while. Well, yeah, I had to, because I knew I was going to review this. It was great to watch it again after quite a while. That sequence where they feast on Bradley, his shine, you know, the smoke and steam coming out of his mouth, and basically, yeah, because for them to, you know, be immortal and such, well, because with smoke and steam that they, you know, is getting in their mouth and such, even they have a couple of containers of extra smoke and steam that they carry in some of the RVs. I think just one RV that Rose of the Hat drives and such, but yeah. Anyways, so them feasting on Bradley, and this really shows you how great of a kid actor Jacob Tremblay was by the time of this movie. At the time of this movie, I should say. His performance, him wailing, him crying, him panicking, wanting to be let go of, and he's saying that he won't tell anyone. And when it comes to, like, Rose of the Hat kind of slicing him, and there's blood on him, and we see that Abra is sensing the killing of Bradley, because, well, her having the shine, and she can sense anybody else that has the shine, and if they're in danger. So her sensing that, and being terrified by what's happening, and reaching out, telling them to stop. And even at one point, Danny does feel this and sense this at one point. But yeah, again, that sequence, what they're doing to Bradley, oh my gosh, just... Luckily for me, I wasn't really disturbed or anything like that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know that that's disturbing. I was saying inside of my head, like, you know, oh, geez, like just a little, you know. I wasn't like, oh my God, no, I was not like that. But, you know, like seeing people reacting to this movie, oh yeah. And fun fact, I didn't really know about this until, well, I did a bit of research, and before I did, you know, started recording my review. Apparently, from Rebecca Ferguson and all the other actors/actresses, you know, obviously, you know, those playing the parts of the members of True Knot, they were dramatized by Jacob's performance, and Rebecca Ferguson felt bad, and she couldn't get out her lines because of Jacob's wailing and screaming. And apparently, Jacob's father was off camera, and, you know, him watching this, and when they cut, Jacob, he got up and walked off and went to the snack table and such, and like he gave a thumbs up to his dad. Each of them gave each other thumbs up, and I think Jacob's dad gave, like, not only gave him a thumbs up but a wink as well. So for Jacob, it was no big deal. Like, you know, he was in character and no longer in character when they cut. Because, yeah, again, he just got up and just, oh my gosh. Well, that shows you what a great kid he is. And, you know, at that time, a kid actor he was, and doing that. That's awesome. However, unlike Jacob, because he was perfectly okay after filming that, those that play True Knot, again, from Rebecca Ferguson and the others, they were not okay. They were not okay after filming that. They were left dramatized. And after Jacob walked off, and if I recall, Rebecca stated that she did get teary-eyed a bit after doing that. Just, I don't blame them, and it really shows, because, again, how great Jacob was at doing that. God, that's amazing. And if you guys know this, and if you've seen the behind the scenes, and even when Rebecca was talking about that, when they were filming that, yeah. But yeah, so, again, Bradley, sadly, he gets killed, and Abra, dramatized by what just happened. However, at one point, Rose the Hat did notice the presence of Abra. Yeah, she noticed, but the others didn't. The others of True Not. And again, this gets the attention of Danny. He did sense this at one point, and can't forget to mention this because at some point, and I think, yeah, before that happened with poor Bradley, Abra started getting in contact with Danny by chalk, because the room that Danny stays in, it has a chalkboard on the side of a wall, and Abra somehow, leaving messages for Danny on the chalk, and Danny replying and writing on the chalkboard. So, yeah. So again, Rose the Hat noticed the presence of Abra, and, well, obviously, she realizes that there's someone else that has the shine, and, yeah. But this was something unlike what Rose had witnessed and with what Abra did. All right, so then, at one point, and to speed things up still, because, yeah, well, Rose the Hat and Crow Daddy, they at one point are burying Bradley, and Rose the Hat talking to Crow Daddy on what she witnessed, and a girl, having the shine, and Rose saw her there and what they were doing to Bradley and such. Then at one point, when coming back to Abra, well, she, at one point, because the shine hitting her and just, like, her eyes just rolled up, just, yeah, kind of creepy, she apparently knows, and she's writing down the location of where they buried Bradley, and her trying to reach out to Danny, and even when at one point, because, well, at school, Abra is getting some information on Bradley, on who he is, and by his first and last name, and at one point, she ditches school, takes a bus, and makes her way to Fraser, New Hampshire, meeting with Dan, and by getting his attention, like, speaking inside of her mind directly to Dan, and yeah, this gets his attention, and, Abra now refers to Dan by Uncle Dan, and just in case, like, to make things, okay, and not to feel creepy or anything like that, a 40-year-old man is hanging out with a 13-year-old girl, etc. Yeah, so her labeling him as Uncle Dan. That's nice to see, and, well, you know what, because he, like, I would say, like, Danny becomes, like, the uncle that Abra never had. Don't you think? That's just my opinion, now that I think of it. So Abra explaining and telling Dan on what happened, and, well, because he sensed this a little, too, with the killing of Bradley, and her mentioning on whom, killed him, and these people, they look like people, but they're not really people anymore because of what they are now. But Danny, because, he doesn't want, he wants nothing to do with this, and even telling Abra to go home and such, But then at one point, and while Danny, while living in Fraser, New Hampshire, because, yeah, early on, at one point, because he's a janitor, and, there's a cat named AZ, if I'm saying that right, and the cat actually, is the cat that played AZ in Dr. Sleep, is actually the cat of the Newton brothers. That's their cat. So, yeah. The cat going into this one hospital room, the patient, and Danny going into the room and, wanting the cat to get out, but the patient, this elderly patient, telling Danny that, just it's okay, and the patient knows that why the cat is laying on top of the bed, and because the cat knows that he will soon die, and yeah. And the conversation that the elderly patient and Danny have, and the advice that Danny gives, about, when dying and, sleeping. And that's when the elderly patient, he refers and nicknames Danny Dr. Sleep. Yeah, so unofficially, he becomes a doctor, Danny, and being referred to as Dr. Sleep, hence the title. Roll credits. And the elderly patient, well, surely, because, would be credited, of course, but, yeah. But, yeah, just overall, that was a nice moment, and later on, and yeah, because after Abra first met with Danny in person, wanting him to, help out with this situation, and he wanted no part of it and such, well, Danny is visited one last time by Dick Hallorann. And did I forget to mention that 8 years go by after, well, the first things that happened with, like, say, when a new member came in for the True Knot, and Danny, when he moved into Fraser, New Hampshire, yeah, 8 years go by, and by that point, Danny is doing completely fine. And after 8 years, yeah, that's when Abra first met Danny, and because of what happened with Bradley, trying to get his help, but he wanted no part of it. But then, later that evening, back at the hospital, the cat, once again going in that same room where the dying elderly patient was. And yeah, because the dying elderly patient, can't forget to mention this, we see that he dies and, like, smoke and such come out. Like, well, I guess it's obvious that dying elderly patient had the shine in him as well. It's obvious, yeah. So, again, the cat going in the same room, and even though there's nobody in there, well, technically someone is. Danny, he didn't know who it was, but he was this close to opening a box for whom he thought was a ghost or something from the Overlook, but no. It's, as I mentioned, Dick Hallorann. And Dick Hallorann, meeting with Danny after such a long time, and, well, after 8 years had passed, and Dick convincing Danny and confronting him about, well, when Danny met Abra, and because, her having the same gift as he does, and Dick giving Danny information about the True Knot, and, sucking the life out of those who have the shine. Yeah, so all the information that Dick gives, and, well, again, as I said, this being the last time that Danny would interact with Dick Hallorann, because, well, Dick explains to Danny that this is his last dream, and yeah, that's it. So then, yeah, obviously after that, Danny then decides to help out Abra, especially after one moment where Rose the Hat is trying to find and confront Abra, and when she does technically find and locate her, well, there's one point, like, there are these vaults, with that contain case folders and such, paper, her reaching in one of them, and the labels are, like, say, Daddy, and a bunch of others, but yeah. And, well, at one point, Abra basically attacks Rose the Hat. The appearance of Abra in this sequence, like, she has blue hair, and she has no eyes, and a kind of a creepy smile, causing Rose the Hat's hand to be crushed in one of those drawers, and yeah, very painful for her, and, the fact that she can obviously feel that. And, kind of a big mistake that Abra did. But at the same time, Rose the Hat still deserved it. And, well, from Crow Daddy and Snakebite Andy, they can see what happened to her and, how messed up her hand is. Even, like, say, there was one moment where, I think, yeah, a little early on, Rose the Hat was doing some grocery shopping, and the first time, like, she really encountered and kind of came face-to-face with Abra was at the supermarket, and, well, up to the fridge counter, the section of the refrigerators with milk, and seeing Abra's reflection, and, well, something happens, and, like, the glass of one of those doors breaks, and it causes Rose the Hat to fly, and, yeah, and, one of the employees checking on her, yeah, supermarket clerk being played by Elisa Gonzalez, if I'm saying her last name right. Again, you know me sometimes. Oh yeah, and the toddler of that chick that Danny hooked up with, you know, at the beginning of this movie, the toddler was, yeah, it'd have to be this toddler, you know, it'd have to be the toddler with that chick. The toddler being played by Peggy Tillman. Yeah, so had to mention that too. And okay, there he is. Yeah, elderly patient being played by Nicholas Pryor. I think haven't I seen Nicholas Pryor before in some other films? Yeah, the late Nicholas Pryor, who plays the elderly patient. Yeah, so, okay, so he has done a movie with Jack Nicholson, and, oh, he was also in one of the Hunger Game films, so, yeah. And one of the last movies he ever did was Halloween Kills. So, and he was also in the Falcon and Winter Soldier miniseries. That's cool. As Ozanik. Yeah, I think I got that right. So, yeah. Anyways, so yeah, because after what happened at the supermarket for Rose the Hat, and the next time she would encounter Abra, but this time her hand being crushed, yeah. And, well, yeah, and by that point, Danny, being aware of what just happened with Abra, and when Abra came face-to-face with Rose the Hat, and what Abra did to Rose, and Danny, knowing that that was probably a big mistake that Abra did, but again, at the same time, yeah, she did what was right, confronting and, you know, wounding Rose, because Rose the Hat technically deserved it. So by that point, that's when Dan takes action and, you know, is going to help Abra, and with all this, and locating where they buried Bradley, and he gets help from his new friend, Billy Freeman, you know, even though, because Billy didn't know who he was, but he recognized his face and what was going through Danny. He can sense what was going on with him, and, you know, him helping out Danny. It's thanks to Bill. It's thanks to Billy for helping Danny being shapened up, and where he was at, you know, up to 8 years in Fraser, New Hampshire. Yeah, good on Billy. So Danny getting help from Billy, like, you know, he wants Billy to try to believe and trust him on what's going on and what Billy is going to be in for. And that especially goes for Danny. So they travel by car and going to the location where they buried Bradley, and Abra being there because of the shine, physically, not really physically being there in person, but just, you know, like an image of her being there, you know, guiding Danny and Billy. And even though Billy can't see her, only Danny can, well, because of the shine. So when they make their way there to the location of where Bradley was buried, and them trying to dig up the spot where Bradley was buried. And also, yeah, because good thing, too, that, well, Billy happened to have some rifles and some tools and such. So, yeah, just in case, and because of what they're going to get themselves into a little later on. So, especially for them having rifles. So, yeah, as they start digging up the grave spot where Bradley was buried, there's one moment where Billy talks to Danny about the time that he shot a deer and something to do with the deer, and yeah, very deep and such with what Billy says to Danny. So, and when they finally reach to the point where how far they've dug, you know, on the ground where Bradley is, and how they see a shoe, they see a hand, and a little bit of Bradley's face is shown, and the stench they smell from the dead bodies, oh God. Understandable, and I don't blame them, because them just being completely grossed out, and just how god-awful that is. And Billy kind of slowly but surely realizes that what's going on, and this is unlike anything. And, you know, with whom did that to poor Bradley. So after that, and even like one moment before they started digging up where Bradley was buried, Abra wanted to be there, but Danny told her, like, no, you gotta step away from this. And good thing that she did. But then Danny and Billy, they start making their way to the house where the Stones live. And a little early on, by this point, Abra's mother had left out of town to be with her mother / Abra's grandmother on the side of Abra's mother. Yeah. Abra's mother's mother, basically. So yeah, again, Lucy, she left out of town, and, well, obviously, Dad's still being there, David. And, well, Danny tells Abra that she's got to tell her parents, but she's not wanting to, but there's no other choice because, well, the True Knot will go after her parents as well. There's no other alternative. So, yeah, Abra did tell her dad, and I were to assume that she probably told her mom, maybe later on or something, or maybe if she at one point called her on the phone. I don't know, but anyways. So when Danny and Billy finally arrive at the Stones' residence, already David is about to, pardon my French, but it's true, David was already prepared to kick Danny's ass because, Danny hanging out with his daughter and such, and, nice on Billy trying to stop this, but Danny telling Abra to show her father on what had just happened, the truth, and so, like, he really knows, and that's what she does. Having her dad see what she witnessed, as well as Danny, with the killing of Bradley and the True Knot cult, and yeah. So now he knows, and yeah, and he now knows that Danny is not a creep or anything and such, yeah. And even when, like, say, David is, like, pouring a little bit of a drink and such, but he's shaken, because how can he recover after that? I don't blame him. And thus, they get down to business on this whole thing. And by the way, Danny and Billy, they did, take the baseball glove mitt from Bradley to bring to Ambra, and, like, her touching it and sensing who it was that took the bat, the mitt and such, yeah. And I believe it was, yeah, Barry the Chunk, yeah, that was him. And thus, yeah, because Abra sensing and knowing where the True Knot is currently, and, well, they're on their way to go after Ambra. But by the way, coming back to the True Knot, because at one point, Grandpa Flick is starting to die, losing the power and such, of being immortal, and Snakebite Andy is confused by this, like, but she didn't really understand that, in order to be immortal and to live forever, live long, eat well, as Rose the Hat says. And unfortunately, Grandpa Flick does die, and the members of True Knot quick enough to, suck up the smoke and steam from Grandpa Flick, so yeah, so they can have enough and they can be okay. But yeah, but at one point, yeah, because the members of True Knot, about to make their destination to go and locate and find Abra, but Rose the Hat is not tagging along with them. Crow Daddy has Rose the Hat stay behind because how powerful the link was to, with Rose the Hat and Abra and such, yeah. But, they got it from here and so on. But even like Crow Daddy saying, like, the chemistry between Crow Daddy and Rose the Hat, just like, I mean, they sometimes get along, but just, just the chemistry between them, an interesting chemistry. And even Crow Daddy pointing out to Rose the Hat that he's got some trick up his sleeves and what they're going to do and when they locate and find Abra. So, the more talk that Abra, Danny have and what to do and such, and because of the True Knot cult, yeah. Well, basically, going to this one location, like, I guess at a picnic spot or whatever, more than likely, and basically Danny tells Abra that she's gonna have to be the bait, and they are gonna have to come towards her. But he does have an idea, and we see that, and to speed things up, because as they're making their way to this one location where they'll have the True Knot members come, and where to locate and find them. Danny, Billy, and Abra in the car and making their way there. And once one RV pulling in, and those the members of True Knot arrive, and well, because Abra is right there sitting on a picnic table, and in plain sight, nothing else. Like, yeah, she's just nothing. Yeah, she's just right there. And Snakebite Andi was about to tranquilize her. And then I forget to mention, because especially Snakebite Andi having the ability, well, yeah, because she has the ability to do this, and as I mentioned, hypnotizing and, controlling and telling someone on what to do. Because again, like, she was, having the ability to have that one creep at the movie theater to fall asleep. And yeah, because basically Snakebite Andi, like, using her abilities, like, to what she tells to Abra, and well, her, like, about to tranquilize her, and well, she apparently does so, but turned out to be a trap, bait and such. It was actually a stuffed bunny that was taken from Abra's room. It's kind of funny, because when it is revealed that it's not Abra, it's a stuffed bunny, and they can see that, yeah, this was bait and such, and in a matter of seconds, Danny and Billy open fire on the True Knot members with the rifles by shooting them, like wounding them at first, but then killing them. And Rose the Hat, sensing this, and her wailing, screaming, no, and just, golly. I tell you, just how intense, like, Rebecca Ferguson is at her performance as Rose the Hat. Still good. Yeah, so the last remaining, like, members of True Knot being killed, and so far it's only Snakebite Andi that's surviving, but she does get wounded at one point, and just how, for the members of True Knot, how they die and get killed, and just, like, seeing, like, the inside of their bodies, and just, like, and just, like, them turning into smoke and, steam, just, golly. A gruesome way to die in this movie for them. So, by this point, Snakebite Andi is the only one there, and one of the very last surviving members of True Knot. And, well, when Danny and Billy, because, Danny having her right inside of the RV, and, well, did I forget to mention that Abra, well, she was never there, because, yeah, when it was revealed that it was a stuffed bunny, because she was doing all of this back at home, and, yeah. So, when it comes down to Snakebite Andi, well, Danny is out of bullets in the rifle. He's trying to load up again, but Snakebite Andi, using her, hypnotism and stuff like that, mind-controlling powers to, tell Danny what to do, but he's trying to resist, but, well, he's kind of having no luck. At the best he can do, trying to not do this, but yeah, Snakebite Andi telling him to go to sleep, but, good on Billy, because he was quick enough to shoot down Snakebite Andi. Yeah, once and for all. But right before Snakebite Andi dies, the last thing that she does with her ability to, have someone do something under her power, control and such, mind control, she tells Billy to shoot himself, putting the rifle to his chin, and Danny trying to telling Billy to no, but sadly it's too late. He shot himself. An last evil thing that Snakebite Andi did, and well, she dies laughing, and yeah, that being the last thing she does, she dies laughing evilly, yeah, but yeah, that's the end of poor Snakebite Andi. What happened to her from the beginning, and just, yeah. But yeah, I think kind of at the same time, Snakebite Andi was really never a nice girl. She was technically always a bad girl. But anyways, well, I mean, I don't know, because, I mean, especially because, like, with her, confronting, like, anybody, like, creepy old men, like in their 40s or such, meeting with her online and meeting her in person, but at the same time, how she did it and took care of them, not good. But anyways, so yeah, again, that's the end of Snakebite Andi, and, well, unfortunately, yeah, Billy too, because sadly, Billy, killing himself under mind control by Snakebite Andi, so that's unfortunate. It's a shame. But it's one of those things in some movies, who can argue? However, well, Rose the Hat is still alive, and yeah, but there's one more that's still alive, not just Rose the Hat, and he was never there. Crow Daddy. Where's Crow Daddy? Well, apparently, and out of nowhere, we see that Crow Daddy captures and kidnaps Abra, knocking her out with a tranquilizer, and yeah, and, well, clearly, and how he got inside of the house, clearly he would have done something to Abra's dad, and which in this case he did. Sadly, Abra's dad got murdered by Crow Daddy. It's unfortunate, and especially for Abra's mother when she comes back home. But yeah, so after that, well, because Danny, unable to contact and reach to Abra because, well, again, she got tranquilized and is knocked out, and now being held hostage in the car that Crow Daddy is driving, and Danny just struggling to reach out to Abra, and surely he would know that, well, because Abra obviously got captured, Abra, she does wake up and, finding herself being held hostage by Crow Daddy, and the dialogue, that Abra and Crow the Daddy have at times, and still, all while Danny is trying and attempting to contact and reach to Abra as soon as possible. Even at one point, and this was, and I, forgot to mention that this was brought up early on, the first time he met with Abra, because the whole thing with the Shine, and when he was a boy, he referred to the Shine as Tony. Yeah, and at one point, Danny, asking Tony for help, but sure enough, and to speed things up, because yeah, Danny finally making contact with Abra, and, well, helping out Abra, like, to basically, and to put it this, cause Crow the Daddy in the vehicle that he's driving to crash. And that's what Danny and Abra do. Like, Danny is talking through Abra, and it doesn't take too long for Crow Daddy to realize that, yeah, it's Danny speaking, not Abra. And, well, sure enough, yeah, because in the end, causing Crow Daddy to crash into a tree, and causing Crow Daddy to fly out of the vehicle, and, well, this, of course, kills him. And now, by this point, Rose the Hat is the last remaining True Knot left, and yeah, of course, her screaming and wailing no, because now that Crow Daddy is killed, she's all that's left of the cult. And, well, Rose the Hat taking it upon herself, and yeah, just is gonna go after them herself, and using some of that smoke, steam from those containers to really power herself up, basically, to have all that power and to take on Abra and Danny. And, for Abra, she's okay now, and at one point, Danny does find and locate Abra, and thus they're reunited, and, well, now their destination, and Danny knows where they're supposed to go, and for all this to end. Yeah, that's where they're going to. Because a little bit of a montage, like, well, at one point, they get, like, Danny filling up the gas tank, and, well, we then come to some identical and familiar shots that was seen in The Shining, and we know where this is leading to, and sure enough, and with that iconic music from The Shining being played, well, we see the overlooked hotel. Yeah. And especially by this point, it's now decrepit, and, well, it's abandoned completely, because it was mentioned early on that the Overlook Hotel was closed forever, and it was left there to rot, and, it was left abandoned, and so on. So they make their way there, and just so happens that, and it's obvious that this would have to happen. It's snowing, yeah, because where the Overlook Hotel is located, yeah, because it always has big snow, and having the road, some of the roads being closed, yeah. So they make their way to the Overlook Hotel. Danny has Abra stay at the car to keep the engine running, and if at any point Rose the Hat is getting close, and Danny pointing out to Abra at the hills and mountains, and at any point seeing car lights, yeah, that'll be her, and having her to honk on the horn to alert Danny. So, basically, Danny making his way inside of the Overlook Hotel, and according to him, waking up the Overlook Hotel, waking up the ghosts and such. And just the sequence where he's roaming around the rooms and locations of the Overlook Hotel, from the main lobby, the hallways, the hotel rooms, the hallways up where the hotel rooms are, and when it comes to that one room that he and his parents stayed in, yeah, of course he has to go in there. Even he came up to that famous hallway section where the twins were. And even when he makes his way to the room that he and his parents stayed in, and, well, it's still there. It's Danny's handwriting with lipstick, red rum. It's still there, and where on that door where Jack Torrance with the axe, he chopped the door because attacking and trying to kill Wendy. And even Danny apparently having flashbacks of the events of The Shining. And again, it's fantastic how they recaptured those shots from The Shining, and with whom played Wendy and Jack Torrance. Fantastic. And even when it comes up to, say, the gold room, the golden ballroom and such, well, and obviously making his way to the bar, and, well, him being greeted and someone pouring a drink for him. That, of course, being Lloyd. Who else? However, Lloyd, the bartender, happens to be Jack Torrance. Now Jack Torrance is taking on the bartender role, and the bartender / Jack Torrance being played by Henry Thomas, a.k.a. Elliot from E.T. Yeah, I think I was like, when I discovered that it was Henry Thomas playing the bartender / Jack Torrance, I was like, holy cow, Elliot from E.T. is portraying and doing an impression of Jack Nicholson? That's amazing. And fun fact, because Henry Thomas had to shave his head and he had to wear a wig. Well, obviously to, capture the resemblance of Jack Torrance from The Shining, and I'm pretty sure he was doing a Jack Nicholson impression, because why not? It would seem fitting to do so, and acceptable. And I think Henry Thomas, he did pretty good. He did pretty good at playing the bartender / Jack Torrance, because that's how he's credited, the bartender. I think that's okay, because, when seeing the bartender in Dr. Sleep and seeing the face, you know who it is. You know who it is, and of course I do, and you do too. But yeah, just again, Henry Thomas and Alexandra is so, if I'm even still saying her last name right, both of them were fantastic at, bringing Jack Torrance and Wendy Torrance to life again in Dr. Sleep. Fantastic. And the same goes for Roger Dale Floyd, who played young Danny. And, so the sequence where Danny technically reunites with the ghost of his father, now the bartender, and so on, and, well, because as it was established in The Shining, and Delbert Grady establishing to Jack Torrance, you've always been the caretaker. And, well, how in the end of The Shining, that photo with everybody at the Overlook Hotel in 1921, Jack being there, well, basically because he became a part of the Overlook Hotel and part of the ghosts of the Overlook Hotel. Basically, that's the best way to put it. But just that sequence and the dialogue between Danny and the ghost of his father, now the bartender, being the caretaker of the Overlook Hotel, just really good. And even like the bartender saying to Danny, I think you've mistaken me for someone else. But no, Danny knows that it's him. And him going on talking about, say, when Wendy, his mother, died. And because this is where he goes into full detail on, the passing of Wendy, because sadly, Wendy died when Danny was only 20 years old. And Danny describes that, seeing these, like, moths or something, like, being on her, just whatever, like death moths, as best way he how he says it and describes. And even the bartender at one point, saying to Mr. Torrance, as he refers to him, "You seem put upon." And even, like, say, Danny talking about, Jack Daniels and, telling the ghost of his dad that, when seeing Jack Daniels and the smell of alcohol. However, the bartender, how he puts at it with the alcohol being medicine, but that's not really the case, and Danny knows this, and refusing to take a drink of it and such, even when we see the bartender, just flinging it out of his hand, just, aggressively. And after that sequence, well, Abra informing Danny, mind talk that, Rose the Hat is on her way. I'm pretty sure, and the more I think of it some more, I don't think there would have been any chance that he would have been able to hear the car horn from wherever he was in the Overlook Hotel, don't you think? All right, anyways, but, so by this point, Rose the Hat making her way to the Overlook Hotel, and when she arrives, because, well, Danny having Abra come into the Overlook Hotel, and the comments that she makes when she first, enters in the Overlook Hotel, sickening and, like, cancer, and the mentioning of her grandmother, so again, Rose the Hat arriving, and, well, her making her way inside of the Overlook Hotel, wandering around some parts of the Overlook Hotel, and when she comes to the one room where, well, Jack Torrance's typewriter it's still there. Yeah, it's still there, that room, and, well, and where the fireplace is, the bear rug, and those stairs, again, it's amazing how they rebuilt and making it almost identical to how it was in The Shining, and not to mention, because Mike Flanagan, I almost forgot his first name. Mike Flanagan and I think like a producer or somebody, Dr. Sleep, they managed to acquire blueprints, and in order to rebuild and to recapture, the feeling and the sets of the Overlook Hotel, they got the blueprints from Stanley Kubrick's estate. That's nice to see, so good thing. Good thing that, because they managed to get the blueprints, and rightfully so, for this movie. So, anyways, so again, Rose the Hat, she makes her way into that room where Jack Torrance was writing his story and all that he wrote, and when Wendy discovers that all that the pages say are, "All work, no play makes Jack a dull boy," I wish that maybe a little bit, I'm pretty sure a little bit of that might have been in this movie. I'll have to go back and look. I mean, we got Red Rum, but why not this? Maybe, but I'm pretty sure, but I probably forgot about it and missed it when I rewatched it. And you can let me know if I'm right that it is in there somewhere. But again, I only forgot, okay? I only forgot. Anyways, so Rose the Hat coming face to face with Abra for the first time in person, as well as meeting Danny Torrance for the first time. And she soon it doesn't take her too long to understand and realize and know who Danny is. And well, Danny having the same thing that Abra has, and what had happened with Danny in the Overlook Hotel, and their attempts to try to stop and defeat Rose the Hat. Well, because at one point, Rose the Hat finds herself in the Overlook Hotel maze at night, and with it being snowy and so on. And Rose the Hat, the dialogue that she has, and of course, her talking directly to Abra, and the abilities that Abra's doing, well, because at one point Abra, very quickly, slicing and stabbing Rose the Hat, on the ankles / legs, and at one point, Rose was quick enough to stop Abra by grabbing her by the neck. But in the end, she discovers that this was just an illusion and she wasn't really there. And yeah, it didn't really work. And that's when Danny tells Abra to make a run for it. He gave her the heads up a little early. And now it's time for her to run while Danny deals with Rose the Hat. And by the way, he just so happens, and he noticed this right before Rose the Hat showed up, and he saw this in a container, and now him wielding it and using it to try to take down and defeat Rose the Hat, that of course being the axe. Yeah, of course, Dr. Sleep had to have the axe. It wouldn't be the same and it wouldn't be complete if it did not have the famous, iconic-looking axe that Jack Torrance wields, and for it being in Dr. Sleep, obviously. Just something about the look and design of this axe, so good, and with it being in The Shining, and with it being used by Jack Torrance, iconic, and just, an iconic, wielding weapon that Jack Torrance uses, so, yeah. Anyway, so now Danny wielding it, and it's amazing that, again, them recapturing those shots where, they are walking on the stairs, just as Wendy and Jack Torrance, they were walking on the stairs. Wendy, she was wielding a baseball bat, but this time, it's Danny, and, well, he's wielding the axe. And just the dialogue that Rose the Hat says to Danny and such, and, and her learning who Danny is, and, and, well, Danny trying to take her down, but she's quick enough to, catch the axe, and she even, flying, throwing Danny and him tumbling down the stairs. And when Rose the Hat has him where he is and having him pinned down to the floor and trying to suck out the shine out of him, and she starts seeing visions that come from Danny when he was a young boy in the Overlook Hotel, seeing more iconic recaptured shots from the twins to, more shots with Jack Torrance and Wendy, Stop Swinging the Bat, and a couple of more shots of Danny on the tricycle, and at one point, Rose is having no luck trying to suck out the shine out of Danny. And that's when at one point, all of the ghosts of the Overlook Hotel, whom Danny locked up in all of those boxes, and even when they were attempting to lock up Rose the Hat as well, but they failed on that, the ghosts of the Overlook Hotel, they are let loose. Danny sets them free, and thus, all of the ghosts, most of them whom we saw in The Shining, they are back, and, because the Grady twins, and very fitting and nice to see that actual identical twins played the Grady twins. that being the Helm twins, Sadie and KK. Sadie Helm and KK Helm played the Grady twins. Delbert Grady in Dr. Sleep, being played by Michael Monks. Horace Derwent, being played by Hugh Maguire. Bobby, being played by Misty Gibby. And also, like, some of the library kids where, Abra was looking up information on Bradley. Some of the library kids, only 3 of them being credited. Callie, McClinzy, Logan, Medina, I think I said that right, and Johnny Gordon, and the rest of the ghosts, like, we for the first time see Mrs. Grady on screen. She was only mentioned, but we never saw her on screen. In The Shining, we only saw Delbert Grady and his 2 twin daughters. But in Dr. Sleep, we do get to see Miss Grady on screen. And Miss Grady being played by good old Molly C. Quinn. Molly C. Quinn, I'm sure some of you would recognize her as Alexis Castle from the ABC show Castle, Castle's daughter, of course, and she's worked with James Gunn a couple of times, most notably in the Guardians of the Galaxy films. She appeared in volumes 2 and 3 as one of those Ravengers, so, and like, in volume 2, she was hanging out with Howard the Duck, if you remember that. Anyways, so her playing Mrs. Grady, I think she did pretty well, being the on-screen appearance of Mrs. Grady. Again, like, the old lady in the bathtub, she's there, and, because they're let loose, they tackle and pin down Rose the Hat, and according to Danny, and what he tells to Rose the Hat, they're hungry. They're wanting to feast on her, so they suck out what's inside of her, and thus, Rose the Hat being defeated once and for all, and all that's left is just her hat. Very fitting, how very fitting. But that's not it, because, they now turn to Danny, and it's obvious that they really weren't going to let him off the hook that easily. And the Grady twins, what they say to Danny, come play with us, Danny, what they say to him. And now the attention is turned to Danny, and thus they start attacking him. Even after Danny let them loose, still, they weren't going to let him off the hook that easily. So thus, they attack him, and, now technically becoming one of them, being possessed by the Overlook Hotel, just as his father was, sadly. And for Abra, her still running and her roaming around the Overlook Hotel a bit, and, she does at one point come up to that famous hallway, and thus she sees the Grady twins. But Danny is now on Abra's tail, because now he's possessed, and, to make things worse, because he's wielding the axe, so, and him shouting, Abra! The same exact way that his father was when he was limping and shouting, Danny boy! God, he became like his father, sadly. But, in this case, it's understandable because, being possessed by the ghosts of the Overlook Hotel, that's understandable. So, at one point, Abra, she does make her way in room 237, and even after she did encounter 2 of the ghosts, the one with blood coming down on his bald head, great party, isn't it? And coming face to face with Delbert Grady, and again, her making her way into room 237, and and like the old lady is in there, of course, in the bathroom. And sure enough, Danny locates and finds Abra in the room, and Abra knows that that's not Danny. And, she knows that, it's the Overlook Hotel that's inside of him, and telling the Overlook Hotel, the ghosts of the Overlook Hotel, in which body that he's controlling, that the ghosts are controlling, and yeah. And at one point, Danny comes back and feeling bad on the situation, and, you know, he tells Abra to just run away and just to be safe and such. And this was pointed out by Abra, and obviously she pointed this out to the ghosts of the Overlook Hotel, now possessing Danny, that the boiler room is out of control by this point and is about to go into flames and, well, causing the entire Overlook Hotel building to be set into oblivions. And yeah, so for one last time, you know, Abra and Danny, like, technically say goodbye, but, you know, not really. And thus, you know, Abra making a run for it, getting out of the building, while Danny, still being possessed, making his way into the boiler room. And, well, this was not Danny. This was the ghosts that were possessing Danny, trying to stop from the boiler room about to explode and stuff like that. But Danny trying to fight, you know, him being possessed, and he manages to. And, well, just him on his knees and, you know, watching as the flames start to emerge and rise. And, well, at one point, as he's about to be burned, Danny sees his mother once again. And then we see Danny, now a little boy again, and how proud Wendy is of her son. Yeah, and what happens in the end, and, you know, technically, the ghosts of the Overlook Hotel, all of this is done for. Or so we think, because what happens at the end of the movie? Well, luckily, Abra, she did get out of there, of course. And, by the way, because can't forget to mention this, because Abra's mother did find out on what the heck happened in the house, and, you know, finding the dead body of her husband, and, you know, trying to reach out to Abra, hoping that she's okay, and which, yeah, she is, but, you know, the only thing that Abra says, I mean, she does say hello, but the last thing she says before hanging up with her mother is, "I love you." And after that, well, Abra threw her phone out of the car, because understandable, and because of Rose the Hat, but anyways. But yeah, in the end, Abra, she's okay. The Overlook Hotel has now been burned down to the ground, and, well, policemen arrived, and, well, Abra is now safe and sound back at home, and now her seeing the ghost of Danny Torrance, now taking on the position as, like, Dick Hallorann when Danny was seeing Dick Hallorann. So now it's Danny, and thus Abra is seeing Danny, and still interacting and talking with her, and Danny feeling sorry, you know, for what Abra got herself into and all this and such. But it's all right now. It's okay with her as of now and such, yeah. And Abra's mother letting her know that dinner is fixed, and she's wondering, like, Lucy Stone, Abra's mother, she's wondering, you know, who was her daughter talking to, and her saying to her mother, just nobody. And, well, she then says that it's not true. She tells her mother that she had been talking to Danny, and she goes on explaining to her mother that her and Danny still talk from time to time, and that Danny is doing okay, and so is her daddy, Abra's father, David. And Lucy does take this well. Yeah, she does. And, well, right before Abra comes downstairs for dinner, well, a bit of a commotion happens in the bathroom, and we hear, finally, Midnight, Where the Stars at You. Yeah, we hear that iconic song from The Shining. It starts to play, and she can sense the presence of the old lady in the bathroom, in the bathtub. And right before she comes down for dinner and informing her mother that she's got something to do, and thus her making her way inside of the bathroom and closing the door, and it's obvious that she's going to handle and take care the old lady in the bathtub by, well, obviously putting her back in a box and so on, as Danny did. And then with the credits rolling and with the song continuing midnight, and yeah, it was a great way to end it. And it's very fitting as well that with the end credits, just like in The Shining, the only thing that plays is just the song Midnight, and all that remains playing in Dr. Sleep. Well, in The Shining, we heard, after the song was finished, there was applause and people talking in the ballroom and such. But in this, after the song plays, we hear some wind blowing, and I assume as though it's supposed to be like a snow breeze. Yeah, I think it's obvious that it is like a snow breeze and such. And that's it. That's all that plays. And when the movie finishes, and with the Warner Brothers logo showing, as I mentioned early on, from beginning to end, the use of the old Warner Brothers logo from the 80s, the painting and such. Oh, just, yeah. Fantastic. Like, from beginning to end, just, yeah. So, Dr. Sleep. What a great film this was. A sequel/follow-up, and the fact that this is canon to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. It's no disappointment, no siree. Again, from beginning to end, and how they recapture some of the elements and stuff from The Shining, and as I've gone on explaining in my review, just, yeah, what more do I have to say? Again, Dr. Sleep, it's a great film/sequel/follow-up to Kubrick's The Shining. The story is fantastic, the characters and the casting, the homages and the magic that was recaptured from The Shining, from the sets, from Red Rum, and, whom played Jack Torrance and Wendy Torrance, and all the ghosts, and young Danny, Dick Hallorann, and, with Ewan McGregor playing older Danny Torrance, from Rebecca Ferguson playing the main antagonist, the cult of True Knot, and from Kylie Corrane, from Emily Allen Lind, Cliff Curtis, Bruce Greenwood, and all the other cast members, and the music and score by the Newton Brothers, Mike Flanagan's directing, just, yeah, from beginning to end, as I said, Dr. Sleep is no disappointment, in my opinion, and I'm sure you guys would feel the same way too. It's such a good, underrated film. Yeah, because it is, pretty much, and yeah. But yeah, just, it's so good. And I'm giving Dr. Sleep, well, what the heck, 10 out of 10 stars. Yes, 10 out of 10 stars for Dr. Sleep. And what about you guys? What did you think of Dr. Sleep itself? Were you not disappointed by this? Do you think it's really good? And, were any of you excited when this was announced, and, when it was announced that it would be canon / a follow-up / a sequel to Stanley Kubrick's The Shining? What did you think of it the first time you saw it, whether if you saw this on the big screen or on digital? The intenseful stuff that happens, especially the gruesome and violent stuff, like most notably with Jacob Tremblay, how they recaptured the magic from The Shining, with the Overlook Hotel, and how they managed to have it look identical to how it was in The Shining, and with Dr. Sleep's cast members from Ewan McGregor to, whom played Jack Torrance, Dick Hallorann, Wendy, Rebecca Ferguson, Bruce Greenwood, and and Emily Allen Lind, and the character Abra, and things that you did not see coming, and yeah. Overall, what do you think of Dr. Sleep itself? And with what I've had to say, my review, and yeah, what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like, as always. And so, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of Dr. Sleep. more review videos are coming your way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And so, well, this year's batch of Halloweenish reviews has come to a close. Yeah. It's been fun for this year's batch of Halloweenish reviews that I've reviewed for the weekdays and for the weekends. And yeah, I think I picked some pretty good ones. And I hope you've enjoyed. And I can't wait to do it again for next year's batch of Halloweenish reviews. Yeah. So yeah, again, thank you very much for watching. Take care, and until next year's batch of Halloweenish reviews, peace out and happy Halloween to all.